You thought we were done today, but it couldn't be further from the truth because we got even more information on the already revealed information earlier today. Not only do we got some more card reveals, including the new Vairina for set 3, but we got some more details for set 4, Lyrical Monasterio, and even the upcoming Reverse V Clan collection. So, let's jump straight into it! Hey Cardfighters, welcome back to a new Cardfight update, the actual regular scheduled Cardfight update for Tuesday, because now we're gonna take a look at the information that was discussed in the actual weekly live stream. And in this case, they're gonna do more detailed information what we already saw earlier today. And let me tell you, we learned some more important details, and there is one important change that we need to highlight, but that will be later in this video. And of course, we got some more exciting stuff for what's gonna come on the horizon. So without any further ado, let's jump straight into everything that was discussed today. And we're gonna do it in chronological order from what's gonna be released first to what's gonna be released last. Which means we need to talk first about the new cards for set 3, which are the new Vairina support cards, or the Overdress support cards. And that brings us to a brand new grade 1 in the likes of Blaze, Fist, Monk, Tenji. And Tenji has the skill Auto on Rearguard Circle. When your rearguard is placed, if it wasn't overdressed, you may draw a card. If you drew, choose a card from your hand and discard it. So this is effectively just a cycle that works with the overdress mechanic. Oh, it's not really anything special, but it just allows the overdress mechanic to potentially just dig faster for the pieces if they want to rely on certain combo cards or a specific overdress target. Now, will this actually be played? Probably not, but it depends on what type of build you're gonna play, because if you're gonna focus on the Urger multi-tech, you probably have more important grade 1s to run, like the one that can empower your Trickstar, or the grade 1 that allows you to discard it and then put it into the soul, so you can fuel your Urgers, etc, etc. So this might not be the perfect fit, but this can come up in a different build. Now, a card that could also work in that different build is a brand new grade 3 normal order, which is Prayers of Resonating Wishes. And this normal order has the effect, play this with cost, counterblast 1, choose one of your Vanguards, and until the end of turn it gets Auto on Vanguard Circle when your rearguard is placed. If it was overdressed, draw a card, and this unit gets power plus 5 until the end of turn. Now this is quite interesting, because now we're actually going to get more value of actually overdressing, because overdressing as a mechanic itself is an inherent minus, as we're losing a card from hand, but we don't get more bodies on the board. We just replace one unit for a stronger unit. Now this effect actually allows us to negate that minus as we immediately draw a card, and we give 5k power to the Vanguard, which means we suddenly start to power up Nirvana quite sizably. Now the thing is, however, that if you're going to use this order card and then only overdress once, this is not that great, because effectively you're still gonna minus because you pay a counterblast and you pay a discard to draw one card. So you cycle and then you pay a counterblast for 5k power, which is not great. Now if we are gonna overdress twice, then we actually are paying one counterblast and one discard to draw 2 cards and to give our Vanguard plus 10k power. That's actually good value. Now we're actually starting to talk about more value that we're generating, which is actually not that hard to do, because once we hit grade 3, we're gonna get a Vairina from the right line, which means we'll have at least one card to overdress. If we have another Trickstar and another overdress card in our hand and we use this order card, we immediately can generate that value, which is equal to an Arcs, because an Arcs is counter plus 1, draw 2 cards, and plus 5k to the Arcs. This is similar in that situation where you counterblast 1 plus 10k to the Vanguard and you draw 2 cards in the process. But you can supercharge this card because Valiente is a thing. So you can overdress, 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 overdress. And every time you do that, you not only are making your Valiente stronger, you also are going to make your Nirvana stronger, and you also are starting to draw more cards, which completely negate the minuses of actually overdressing Valiente on top of Valiente. But with the new Vairina being a thing, that Vairina can also stack its overdressing just like Valiente, thus allowing us to generate even more value off of this order card. So this, in a generic sense, can be an okay order that functions similar to Arcs if you overdress 2 cards on your turn free play when you activate this thing. But in a specific build where you're gonna go for those supercharging Valientes or potential Exspecta, then this order card can generate an insane amount of draw power and also can beef up your Vanguard quite sizably for only 1 counterblast. So depending on the build, this card can actually be really good, or it can be kind of okay-ish, maybe even underwhelming. But the great thing is, it's generic. So you could make a Eugene Overdress hybrid and splash this card in. You can make an Overlord Overdress hybrid and splash this card in. So luckily it's not name restricted, so there's more potential to this card that can come up in the future. Now I already teased this a little bit, but we also got the reveal of Vairina Exspecta. Now we knew about this card before the original product livestream, but I wanted to wait until this video because I already knew that we're gonna get more cards around it, so we can tackle them all in one go. So here we have the brand new grade 3 Vairina Exspecta. And Exspecta has the effect Overdress, and this is important, unit in the overdress state. This card cannot overdress over Trickstar. The only way that we can overdress this card is by overdressing over an overdressed unit. So unlike Valiente, which can overdress on Trickstar and then on top of any other card, this can only overdress on top of an overdressed unit, which is already on top of Trickstar. That makes this card kind of restrictive, because if you only have Trickstars and no other overdress card, but you have this card in your hand, it is effectively a dead card. So you need to be careful with this particular card. Yes, with the right line we're going to fetch a normal Vairina at all times, but you might not always be in that scenario, because you can also be a turn further, your opponent destroyed your overdress cards, and then you draw into multiple copies of Exspecta, but nothing like an Arx or Valiente or a normal Vairina, and then these cards are just going to stay there in your hand and do absolutely nothing. So this is a bit risky, which is a bit annoying, so we expect some good payoff that can compensate for the risk or for the downgrade of consistency of this card, or should I say playability. Well, the unique effects of this card are continues a rearguard circle. This unit gets the original power of all its original dress, active on opponent's turn 2. So this is somewhat similar to Valiente, only it's even better, because Valiente just gets 5k power for every card in its original dress, which is the same value that you would get if you have Trickstar underneath it, because Trickstar has 5k power, but any other subsequent overdressing you're going to do, it's only going to give you 5k power. Whereas with Exspecta, you're going to get way more, because if you have a Trickstar and then a Vairina, that's 15k power in base total. So if you're going to put an Exspecta on top of that, the Exspecta is going to get plus 15, whereas a Valiente would only get plus 10. And if you then put an Exspecta on top of that, that's not going to be plus 15, but plus 28, whereas a normal Valiente would only get plus 15. So you're going to see the difference is going to stack up quite a lot if we're going to stack multiple overdress cards with Exspecta. So this can be a massive beater very quickly. And if we combine that with the grade 3 order that we just talked about that allows us to draw into more cards, then we can see the synergy what's happening here, where we can generate a lot of value while also putting a lot of numbers on the board. But of course, big numbers isn't everything, because this card also has another effect, which is auto on rearguard circle. When this unit attacks a grade 3 or greater Vanguard, if this unit is in the overdress state, cost counter plus 1, and this unit gets power plus 15k, critical plus 1, and until the end of the battle, at the end of the battle, put all of this unit's original dress into the drop. Overdress states ends if there are no original dress. So this is basically a one-shot kill, but if you don't succeed on this attack, this Exspecta is gonna lose all its value and is gonna become a 13k vanilla that doesn't really do anything, because the moment it loses all its original dress, it loses the overdress state, so it's just a 13k, and you can no longer put anything on top of it, because you cannot put the Valiente there, you cannot put another Exspecta on top of it, and it's just a vanilla dead card. Now, you can say everything about this card by saying it's plus 50 in a critical, so your opponent needs to perfect guard it, otherwise they're gonna take 2 damage, and it gives a lot of pressure, especially with all the power it can generate. But the thing is, my problem with this card is that I think this card is not really going to see a lot of play, if at all. And the reason why I'm saying that is because you're paying a counterblast for 15k in a critical. Counterblast in Nirvana is very valuable resources. You do not want to waste it on skills that do not get you enough value. Now, 15k power in a critical might sound pretty promising, but the problem is, it's just gonna be perfect guard. Even though it can generate a big number on a body, it's just gonna be Perfect Guard because Valiente is already a thing, and people already have been hoarding Perfect Guards to prevent a Valiente restand. So they can just preemptively put it on the Exspecta and negate all their resources. And the problem is, you need to pay the counterblast before the attack even happens, so you don't know if you're actually gonna get value of that counterblast, because if they have a Perfect Guard, you just wasted that counterblast, but on top of that, you just wasted all the cards that you invested in this card, because all the original dress cards are now on the drop, and you need to start over again. And that is a resource battle you can never win with Nirvana. But for the argument where you can say, well, the trickster goes to the drop zone so you can start over again, why not just intercept with your grade 2 Vairinas? You can intercept with Vairina, you can intercept with Arcs, or you can intercept with Urger, which is going to give you even more shield. Not only will the trickster be back in the drop zone, but you now also got shield power, so you can guard and survive longer. Whereas with Exspecta, he doesn't have that. So there is an inherent flaw with this particular card. And yes, you can say it's a giant number if you invest in this card and you can set up. But is that big number actually what we need? Nirvana can already generate beefy columns of 30, 40, 50, 60k columns without any actual problems. Do we need a overdress card which can become 80k? Does that actually change much? I would argue no. Because I think there's more value in either having a big number that has on-hit pressure that can restand, thus not even wasting our counterblast and still forcing our opponent to waste their shield and Perfect Guard. And I think there's more value to be had in Urger, which allows us to multi-attack, than just having a big number on the board. Because that is what we did in set 1, and we have slowly been moving away from that playstyle because it doesn't really work with the mechanic of overdress because it costs us too much resources to sink into it, whereas now almost all the main archetypes are getting removal. This thing is prone for removal. This is not going to be great. And yes, it saddens me that the new Vairina isn't all that great, but that might all change very soon, because set 4 gave us a new look, and oh boy, does it look promising. Which brings us to the second part of this video, as we're gonna take a look at the news that we got earlier today and add some extra details. Now, we already saw that set 4 is gonna introduce a new Vairina, but now we also know its name and we see a better artwork, because here we can see the new Vairina in full art, and oh boy, does this thing look good. And this thing, unlike the previous Vairinas, this thing looks strong. I have high hopes for this thing to be a boss unit, and it's also the end boss of the end of season 2, so this could actually be very promising. And its name is, and it's a mouthful, it's Vairina Exspecta. And usually when they have these fancy names, they are typically pretty damn strong. I could also be just pulling that out of my ass, but right now I'm making that a fact, so this Vairina on December 24th is going to be a game changer. I promise you for that one. And the reason why I think that's going to be the case is we also learned the name of the set, and we already knew this actually earlier today, but I overlooked that. The name of this set of set 4 is actually called Awakening of Chakravarti. If the set is called after the main grade 3 of the Nirvana right line, which is the overdress archetype, I have high hopes that that means that this card is going to channel the power of Nirvana, and it's going to be a game changer. So yeah, I'm very excited for set 4, and I cannot wait until we get more details about that, but we have to wait for further information. Now beyond that, we also got more information for Lyrical Monasterio. Now there was one small detail that I overlooked with the previous slide that we got earlier today, because this was the original slide that we've got, and we knew that it's going to be released on February the 25th, so that's when set 2 of the Lyrical Monasterio series is going to be released. But as you can see, there's this number here which indicates that the set will have 80 cards. That's relatively low for a nation that only gets support once a year. And this is where I want to take your attention and just cut the music for a moment. Because what just happened is that MoreEP basically told us they just changed the way that they're going to release sets, and they're going to make Lyrical Monasterio a support wave twice a year. And the reason why they did that is because they got feedback from the community, and they noticed that the player base and the Lyrical Monasterio players weren't that happy with only having support once a year. Let me emphasize what just basically happened. A company had a roadmap, how they're gonna produce and release products for the foreseeable future, and we're talking about multiple years, and then their player base said, we don't like this particular aspect of that, and then on an instant they decided to change their plans and actually make the player base more happy and change the plans of what they originally intended. And not only that, they did it like within a week or 2 weeks since the last producer letter was released. There aren't a lot of companies that do this. Can we at least just applaud Bushiroad's speed and actually willing to change these type of things? Because this doesn't happen all that much, especially in this day and age where you see a lot of infighting and just a lot of bickering between the player base and the community. And I've been talking about this a lot, where Bushiroad is actually listening to us. But on this speed, and for these, what I could say are what minor details, is actually quite remarkable. Because keep in mind, a company like this, a card game company, produces and makes these sets months in advance. They are not making these like a month before. That's impossible, because they need to playtest these. They need to design the cards. The artworks need to be made. They need to put them to printers and all that kinds of stuff. So they already had planned this original big set a lot sooner. But now, because of the impact of the producer letter, they decided to just change it up and make it 2 sets per year. So they probably had to change things up, make the set smaller, put maybe some cards later later in the year. But to make that work, they had to also figure out which cards they could release in the first set and which cards they could postpone to the next one later down the line. The fact that this happened in the span of like 1-2 weeks is ridiculous. So yeah, I have to give props to Bushiroad on that one, because that's actually something I didn't really expect to see. So I hope you Lyrical Monasterio players are happy about this news, because this is actually quite remarkable. And yeah, I'm very, very excited and happy about hearing this and that they actually did this. And it only makes me more hopeful and promising about the future of Vanguard with the current staff that's working on the product. Now, enough me praising about Bushiroad for these minor changes. We have one more important thing to discuss, and that is, of course, the reverse set with the new V-Clan collection, Volume 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now, important thing to notice is that we already saw the artwork for the Volume 3 and Volume 4 set. And I already explained we're going to get reverse units, and we're going to get reverse units in the first 2 volumes as well as the second 2 volumes later down next year. Now, the important thing to take away from this is that they didn't really specify how this will function. Because as you can see on the artwork, we see some clans that will have a reverse unit and some that don't. Now, this can mean that we can see that in one of the 2 products we can get reverse units for some clans, and then the clans that didn't get them in Volume 3 and 4 are going to get them in Volume 5 and 6. That can be one way how we can interpret it. But it can also be interpreted that some clans maybe get 2 reverse units. One in Volume 3 and 4, and then another one in Volume 5 and 6. We don't know. They didn't specify that we only get 1 per clan. They just specify that we're gonna get reverse units in Volume 3 and 4, but also in Volume 5 and 6, as they belong to a bigger picture for 2022. So that's an important thing to keep in the back of your head when anticipating the reveals for these sets. But besides that, we also got more artwork revealed for these sets, and we see some very interesting faces returning and being introduced. Now, for Volume 3, we of course see the new Jewel Knight Salome as well as Lucario Reverse. These aren't new, we already knew about this. But for set 3, we also see the confirmation of Maelstrom Reverse and a brand new one, which is Himiko Reverse. Genesis never got a reverse unit, so their reverse unit is going to be Himiko. Now, I know some might have wished that it was Minerva, but honestly, with this artwork for Himiko, I think we cannot complain. Now, for set 4, we already saw that we're gonna get Raging Form Dragon, but it's now confirmed that it is Raging Form Dragon, but it's actually Revenger Raging Fall Dragon Reverse. So, more support for Raging Form Dragon, as it is another Revenger, arguably probably a grade 3, so that's an interesting synergy. But we also see that the other card is, of course, Ezel Scissors, so that is something we already knew. But now we get, once again, a very unique surprise, because the other 2 cards that have been revealed for set 4 is the reverse of Cecilia and the return of Amon. So both of these reveals are very surprising because first off, Cecilia wasn't the original reverse unit for Neonectar. This was Venus Trap. Now, personally, I think choosing for Cecilia makes a lot more sense because Venus Trap to me is not actually a very recognizable card. Like, it was there, but I think there were way more cards that were more on the forefront, especially with the V series, with Cecilia being the first VR and with more Musketeer support in the later half of V. This makes more sense. And also the artwork, pretty damn good. But probably the biggest surprise of them all is Amon. So that's very exciting because I know a lot of Amon fans out there that were wishing for Amon for the longest of time. So with Amon also being in set 4, I'm very hopeful that then in set 5 or 6, we're gonna get Amon Reverse. So yeah, very exciting stuff for all the future things. Now, for the final thing that we saw is basically the brand new special rarity for the V-Clan collection set. And this time there's going to be a new reverse rare, as we have these full art reverse frame bodies. And let me tell you, these looks pretty damn good because everything around the symbols and the bottom text has now this reddish Link Joker corruption glow to it, which looks pretty damn godly with all the reverse artworks. So I assume all the reverse units are gonna get this high rarity special treatment. But honestly, I cannot wait to see them in actually the full arts of all the other cards. So I'm very excited about this set. I cannot wait till the other cards have been revealed. And then also know what the actual skills are going to be. Because this can be very interesting. Either they're going to make them just stand alone, very powerful. Or we're going to get a retrain of the original cross-ride mechanic with their original counterparts. Because a lot of these cards already got introduced in the V-Series, so they can definitely do something like that where they can work with their non-corrupted version to empower them even further. And that basically brings us to the end of this video because that's everything that was extra explained. Now, overall, very exciting stuff. I am super excited about what we're going to get beyond this because so far, we've only got some breadcrumbs. We only got some artworks of a couple of cards where we still have a lot to learn and a lot to know because I assume probably in a couple of weeks, that's when they're gonna reveal all the artworks for V-Clan collection. And then a couple of weeks after that, that's when they're, I think, once again are gonna do this is the description of the cards. And then a month or two later, that's when they actually are gonna start revealing the actual skills. So yeah, a lot of exciting stuff on the horizon. And I cannot wait till that once again starts again. Because honestly, V Premium or V-Clan collection season has been my favorite Vanguard season thus far, and I cannot wait to it start all over again. And with the fact that it now is going to happen 2 times a year, makes me very excited. But with that said, let me know in the comments down below what you guys think of the new cards that we got for Overdress, as well as the extra information that we got. Are you excited about Lyrical Monasterio now going from once a year to twice a year support? And what do you think of these new confirmation for these new reverse units being introduced in the upcoming V-Clan collection set? Let me know all your thoughts in the comment section down below. As always, this video has been brought to you by lovely patrons over patreon.com/VanguardInsider. You guys are amazing. If you do want to support the channel or everything that's happening on the channel, you can simply go to patreon.com/VanguardInsider and become a patron today. But with that said, I've been Mr. Time Leap, and I see you guys in the next one!